I had no idea that a straightforward family get-together would turn into one of the most intricate and intense events of my life. I had found a nice routine at the age of 28, living in a comfortable apartment just outside of the city and working as a graphic designer in Melbourne. Even while I was happy with my steady, regular life, there were moments when I wished for something more. Something thrilling, something surprising. That excitement, however, never occurred to me that it would take the shape of a lifelong secret. Leo, my cousin, was a few years my senior. He was 32 years old, personable, successful, and incredibly attractive, making him the family's golden boy. With his kind smile and laid-back manner, he had a way of making everyone feel special. Growing up in the same neighborhood and spending the summers at our grandparents' farm, we had always been close. But when we became older, we took different routes. Leo remained in our hometown and took over the family business, while I relocated to Melbourne to further my career. Our once close bond had deteriorated into a distant friendship, but we continued to see one another at family get-togethers. Everything changed at one of these events, a late spring cookout at my parents' house. With beautiful skies, a slight breeze, and the aroma of grilled meat filling the air, the day was ideal. The whole family was present, catching up on each other's lives, laughing, and eating. Leo came over and took a seat next to me at a picnic table where I was enjoying the warm sun on my face with a couple of my aunts and uncles. With his recognizable smile, he continued, "Hey, Emma. It's been a while. How is life in the metropolis?" "As usual, busy," I said, grinning back at him. "However, it's nice to spend some time at home. How are you?" He shrugged and remarked, same old, managing the company and making sure everything stays afloat. However, it's good to be here with the family and take a break." We started a casual chat in which we discussed our lives, laughed about the antics of our younger relatives, and reminisced about our early years. Reconnecting and being reminded of the connection we had for so long was pleasant. The family started to split up as the afternoon went on, with some going inside to cool off and others taking a stroll around the grounds. Leo and I remained seated at the table, taking in the silence that had descended upon the yard. After some time, Leo said, in a more solemn tone, "I didn't notice this. We no longer get to spend a lot of time together." "I understand," I said with a twinge of remorse. "I have also missed it. Life just gets so hectic." He looked into my eyes and responded, "Yeah. But occasionally, I question whether we overlook the crucial details. Similar to our partnership. We were so close once, but sometimes it seems like we're just strangers anymore." Startled by the sensitivity in his voice, I turned to face him. "I had no idea you felt that way." Gazing out at the garden, he shrugged. "I suppose I've given it a lot of thought lately. About how we parted ways and how I hope we could return to our previous state." With a comforting grin, I put a hand on his arm and extended out. "Yes, Leo, we can. We can still be close since we are still family. There is yet time." With a slight smile on his lips, he glanced down at my hand before turning back to face me. "I'm grateful, Emma. That is really important to me." We sat there in pleasant solitude for a while, with the only sound being the soft rustle of the trees in the wind. Then, though, something changed between us. I couldn't quite locate the unspoken strain that was causing the stillness to become thicker. Warm and steady, Leo's hand moved to cover mine. "Emma, you've always supported me," he replied softly. "I always knew that I could rely on you, even when we weren't as close." "And you can," I answered, if a little hesitantly. There was something about the way he gazed at me that caused my heart to accelerate. "Leo, you're my cousin. We have always supported one another." I felt a chill go down my spine as his hold on my hand became ever so slightly tighter. He said in a deep, quiet voice, "But it's more than that, isn't it? There has always been something unique between us. Have you never experienced it?" As I stared into his eyes, I saw something I had never seen before, something that both excited and frightened me, and my breath caught in my throat. Leo." He leaned closer and murmured, "Don't lie to me, Emma. I'm sure you've experienced it too." It's visible in your eyes. I wanted to tell him that he was mistaken, to push him away, to deny it. In actuality, though, I had sensed it. Between us, there had always been an unsaid kinship that went beyond simple familial ties. However, I had never given myself permission to accept it or even think about what it may entail. My voice was shaking as I muttered, "We can't do this. Leo, you're my cousin." "This is incorrect," with sadness in his voice, he continued. "I know it's wrong. But Emma, you are always on my mind. I've made an effort to ignore these emotions, but they persist. And I can no longer ignore them." A mixture of fear, guilt, and something else that I didn't want to tell myself was causing my heart to race in my chest. "We can't. Leo. Our family would be destroyed." His voice grew softer as he added, "I know. But I can't leave this without finding out if you share my sentiments." I gazed at him while a flurry of contradictory ideas raced through my head. This was completely incorrect. However, it was hard to deny the sincerity in his speech and the way he was staring at me. With tears in my eyes, I muttered, "Leo, this is crazy. This is not possible." "I understand," he said in a painful voice. "But Emma, I must know. If there is a genuine connection between us, I must know." Tears threatened to fall, and my heart was pounding. I couldn't do this. I couldn't inflict this kind of harm to our family. In actuality, though, there was a tiny, sinister part of me that was curious to see where this may go. I finally answered, in a voice that was almost audible, "I don't know. I'm not sure what to do." With beseeching eyes, he implored, "Emma, just tell me the truth. Do you have any sympathy for me? Anything at all?" My thoughts were racing as I glanced down at our clasped hands. I was aware that I should advise him to go and that we should never bring up this subject again. However, the words refused to come. While an alternative, I found myself nodding and crying while I told him and myself the truth. "Yes," I said in a tremulous murmur. "Yes, I do." I could see the relief on his face as he gave my hand a light squeeze. "I appreciate your candor with me. I am aware that this is difficult." I tried to control my breathing while wiping away my tears. "Now what do we do?" His countenance was troubled as he gazed at me. "I'm not sure. However, I can't continue to act as though nothing is going on between us. We must solve this, but we must use caution." I nodded as a heavy feeling of dread descended upon me. "Leo, we can't let anyone know. Our family would be destroyed." "I understand," he responded in a remorseful tone. "But we also can't ignore this." Some of the most challenging days of my life were those that followed. I made an effort to ignore my emotions, concentrate on my work, and avoid spending time alone with Leo. However, it was not feasible. There was always a noticeable tension between us while we were in the same room. Every look and every unintentional contact made me think of the secret we were keeping. Then, one evening, following an especially demanding workday, I got a message from Leo. "Can we have a conversation? I must see you." As I read the message, my heart was pounding. I was aware that I should ignore it and avoid it, but the temptation was too great. In agreement, I told him to meet me in the garden behind my parents' house, where we had spent many childhood summers. The garden was peaceful when I got there, and the traditional flower beds and walks were covered in long shadows from the late evening light. We used to play hide and seek by the old oak tree, and Leo was already there. "Emma," he said, his voice full of passion, "I apologize for placing you in this predicament. I never intended to cause you or our family any harm. But you are always on my mind. I can't continue in this manner without knowing whether or not we might actually have something." With a broken heart, I gazed up at him. "It's too late, Leo. This is not possible. Everything would be destroyed." "I understand," he said in a shaky voice. "But without knowing if we could have had something, I can't leave you." My heart ached as I listened to him, tears welling up in my eyes. "I also care about you, Leo. However, this is incorrect. We must maintain the status quo." Warm and reassuring, He reached out and took my hand. Please, Emma. Tell me you feel something too, please. I searched for any hint of skepticism in his eyes, but all I saw was honesty. I was afraid because he meant everything he said. Because, in all honesty, I did have sympathy for him. I couldn't, however, betray our family in this way. The guilt was too much for me to bear. I apologize, Leo, I said in a tremulous murmur. But this isn't possible. We must give it up. He turned to face me, sorrow and pain on his face. I get it, he murmured quietly. But, Emma, I will always remember you. He then leaned in to give me a final kiss that was full of all the feelings we were unable to put into words. My heart was broken into a million pieces when I stood by myself in the yard after he left. The next few days were excruciating. I kept thinking about that kiss and the feelings Leo had given me. However, I was aware that it was wrong and that I couldn't allow it to occur again. Even though it meant destroying my own heart, I had to defend our family. Nevertheless, it was harder the more I tried to forget about Leo. I was haunted day and night by the recollection of that night in the garden, the way he had looked at me, and the way he had made me feel. After that, one afternoon, Leo texted me. I need to get some fresh air, so I'm going out of town for a little. Emma, be careful. I gazed at the letter, feeling both relieved and depressed. I was aware that it was best for us both and that we needed time to recover and move on. However, that didn't make things any simpler. I made an effort to concentrate on my work and to start over without Leo in the weeks that followed. I poured myself into new endeavors, spent more time with my friends, and looked for a return to routine. However, the recollection of our past interactions persisted, serving as a continual reminder of the boundary we had crossed. Things were never the same, even though Leo eventually came back and we continued to see one another at family events. The easy companionship and the bond we had experienced as kids were gone, replaced by an underlying tension that neither of us could ignore. We each moved on as time went on, creating our own lives and attempting to forget the past. However, I would never be able to forget the kiss we shared that night in the garden. I would always remember that secret, which served as a reminder of the delicate line separating betrayal from love and the decisions that shape our lives.